Welcome, sports fans, and thanks for watching Thursday Nights with 912 Sports on a Monday. I'm Sean Smoke, publisher of 912 Sports, joined as always here by podcast host and writer Kevin Price. Kevin, how you doing today, buddy?
I'm good, Sean. How you doing?
Doing great, man. We're coming to you again from pre-recorded land as the Ware County Gators are playing on a Monday night, trying to make it to the state championship of 5A. They forced a game 3 with Stars Mill, and we'll touch on that here in a little bit. But Kevin, you guys with Golden Isles baseball, your guys' run came to an end this past week as the Glenn Academy Red Terrors went up to Altoona to face the Buccaneers. But let's go back, Kevin, and take a look at that series. And it was a great year for Glenn Academy, but it all came to an end there in Acworth, Georgia.
Yeah, I kind of knew going into that series, particularly with Altoona being at home, that Glenn, might be up against the 8-ball, so to speak, the underdog, if you will. Altoona had 29 wins on the season. Glenn had 21. They had a good, solid hitting club from top to bottom, had some pretty good pitching overall. And, I knew Glenn might have to get some breaks to kind of go their way, maybe get some, some walks, some errors, and then get some timely hits to kind of go with those kind of things to, maybe steal a game, if you will, and maybe take that series to a third game and just kind of see what might happen. And really, it was kind of going that way, Sean. In game 1, Glenn Academy loaded the bases in the first inning of that opening game, got a sacrifice fly out of Joe Kataya to take a 1-0 lead. And that lead held up until the 4th inning, I believe it was. And Altoona tied it up 1-1. Tom Eccles, Glenn's starting pitcher, got his way out of a bases loaded jam with 1 out to keep that game at 1-1. And then, basically Glenn went up 2-1 again, and then Altoona came though right back and tied it up against Sean Munoz, Glenn Academy's relief pitcher, who had been, kind of lights out all year for Glenn Academy. They touched him up a little bit. Maybe he just didn't have his best stuff at certainly a big time of year, but he's been money all year for Glenn Academy. And anyway, I guess it was in the bottom of the 6th inning, they scored to go ahead 4-2, and their pitcher had started settling into kind of a groove midway through that opening game. Glenn, like I said, got some early hits, and he kind of started, striking them out, shutting them down, and Glenn really didn't put anything else on the scoreboard, and they lost that game, 4-2, I guess it was, and ended up losing that opening ball game. But then in the second game, Glenn just scored again early. And then, they basically came out hitting the ball. They had a couple of big numbers in the middle innings and kind of won that game going away from Glenn, 9-1. So Altoona is a real solid team, from top to bottom. Glenn had made a good run, throughout the season, got hot late with the bats to go with some pretty decent starting pitching. And, we knew when the season started, they had a chance to win the region championship. They were in that mix, all the way to the end, ended up as the number 2 seed. But with the way they swung the bats, there late in the year, put the pitching and the hitting together and made the great run to the state quarterfinals. So all in all, it's hard to be disappointed when you make the quarterfinals, particularly with some of the injuries they had to their pitching staff throughout the year. So at the end of the day, a great run by Glenn Academy. It was certainly a fun season to follow the Red Terrors and the Pirates on Golden Isles baseball.
Yeah, it was a great year for both programs. Greg Roberts done a great job of bringing Brunswick back to Relics. I know they didn't make the playoffs, but listen, he's building that program. I think those guys will be right there in the mix next year. And, man, wouldn't it have been great, Kevin, to watch Glenn with all the arms that they had at the beginning of the year and all the players they had at the beginning of the year? We may be talking about those guys going to play for a state title because, I mean, even with, Brady coming on right at the end of the year, I mean, just as bad alone. But, man, think about him and the long kid on the mound. I mean, they really lost some key pieces early in the season. And I know you can't cry over spilt milk, but, man, it would have been really fun to watch all those guys out there wearing the red and white.
Yeah, this is kind of 2 years in a row, if you will, where Coach Trent Mangiero and his Red Terrors really don't know what would have happened. If you really go back to last year, and I don't want to dwell on it too much, they had gotten off to a good start. For what it's worth, they were ranked number 1 in 6A, I guess it was, by Max Preps. And again, I say take that for what it's worth. They hadn't got into the region schedule, but they were certainly off to a good start after struggling with a young rebuilding squad the year before. They had the train rolling down the tracks in the right direction. And then, of course, boom, COVID shut us down in mid-March. And that was certainly a tough pill for Glenn to swallow at this point last year. But then, to get back going again this year and to get off to a decent start and, to lose some of the guys they lost some guys in the preseason, Sean, before they even entered preseason practice. They lost Brady Davis, like I said, one of their seniors in a winter showcase. He had to have Tommy John surgery, and they didn't expect to get him back at all. And, they certainly never got him back as a pitcher or a defensive player when he's not pitching. But they did get his bat back in the lineup, and that made all the difference really in the world for that whole lineup. Everybody just kind of fed on him from putting him in there in the two-hole, sliding everybody kind of back. And, he was obviously hot from that last Statesboro series on, and everybody kind of followed his lead. But, with him being another pitcher in the mix, and then they also lost two more arms that they could have used. And then, also the lone kid who had committed to North Carolina in the off season. He was, in between his sophomore and junior years. This year he would have been a junior. Next year he's going to be a senior. He would have been a pitcher. I'm not sure where he would have, figured into the start rotation if he'd have been a reliever. But he is another arm. He's certainly a good outfielder and obviously a big bat for them. So he could have helped them in a lot of ways too. And I'm sure there's other teams around the state that could say what ifs and all that. But Glenn is certainly one of those. And they would have had a little more ammunition in the gun going up against a team like Allatoona, and they could have used it. But, obviously, they made the most of what they had. I think they did a good coaching job of the way they handled their pitchers, and certainly getting Brady Davis back in and some of the adjustments they made just around him to, spread out some of their offensive production made a difference in their playoff run.
Exactly. And I think the last time I was on the show I was out at Ware County High School. The Ware County Gators were taking on Cartersville in a 3-game series. Ware County had just won game 1 by a large margin. I forget what that score was, but we were between game 1 and game 2. Ware County actually came back and lost game 2 to Cartersville. So that series got forced to a third and decisive game, and the Gators were able to win that game in dramatic fashion. They were up going into I think it was the top of the 7th inning, and Cartersville was able to come back and tie them at 3 apiece. It was 3-2 going into the top of the 7th. You had a young sophomore had played sparingly throughout the year. He'd played in some games as a designated hitter. He had made the decision the night before, actually on advice from his wife, to plug this guy into the lineup as a designated hitter. And, oh, by the way, he just had he went 2 for 3 on the day with 3 RBIs with a game-winning hit in the bottom of the 7th, the runner on second base. He is a left-handed batter. He strokes one out into right field. Of course, the runner on second, he's going on contact. You've got 2 outs, and that was a great play at the plate because the right fielder made a great throw in, but the young Weathersby kid slid up under the tag. He was safe, and so the Gators go on to win that series 4-3. Oh, by the way, Caleb Stewart, who was named as our baseball player of the year for large schools, in that series alone, Kevin, he just went 12 for 14, so with a home run. So he's kind of living up to the hype, so to speak. He's already committed to go to play at Georgia State. He's on the cover of our baseball edition of 912 Sports, but Caleb's had a great playoff series ever since the Gators have gotten into the playoffs all year long. But that gave the Gators, beating Cartersville, gave them the opportunity to play Stars Mills for a chance in the Final Four for a chance to play for a state title. So the Gators trekked up to Peachtree City on Saturday. Had 2 games, a 5:00 game, and then I think the second game started at about 7:30. But Gators were big winners in game 1. Kevin, they actually were in control of the game all game long. Had a big lead or a couple run lead going into the bottom of the 6th. And Stars Mills struck back and took the lead. I think the lead was 5-4. And the Gators come into the top of the 7th inning needing, at least a run to tie. Well, the seniors stepped up. You've got a senior batting 8th, 9th, and 1. And those are 3 seniors on that team who had missed graduation that morning to go play in a baseball game. Don't get me started on GHSA not moving a game so kids can graduate. But anyway,
I'm going to ask you about that, though. Go ahead.
Well, getting back to the story, but so those seniors come up, you get a base hit, you get a big double down the right field line. Caleb Stewart comes up, he gets a double. and he's on second. That scores the runner from third. So you're at least you're going to continue to play into the bottom of the seventh, all tied up at 5. And lo and behold, there's another I think hit behind him with Trey Jeffers after Caleb Stewart steals third base. He's standing on. He comes home. That puts you up 6-5. The Gators get in a little bit of a pickle in the bottom of the seventh. Starks Mills able to get a runner all the way to third with only 1 out. Gators bring the infield in. They hit 2 hot shots to our second baseman, JoJo Callahan, who gobbles both of them up, looks the runner back to third base, throws on over to first for the second out of the inning, and then the next ball comes right to him. He flips it over to first base for the third and final out as the runner tries to score from third, but with the third out, that run doesn't count. So the Gators are winners 6-5 in game 1. Real dramatic fashion. Want to give a shout out to the Gator fans. They had a charter bus that went up Saturday. So at one point, Kevin, I'm not so sure that Ware County didn't have more fans at this contest than Starks Mills did. I think at the end of the night when everybody got rolling in game 2, I think Starks Mills probably had a little bit more fans there than we did. But I think in that first game, we had the most fans. The Gators didn't fare so well in the second game. Caden Henderson started out. The Gators actually had an early lead, went into the bottom of the third inning with a 2-run lead. And then they were able to come back and put a 2 spot on the board in the top of the fourth because the Gators were the home team in that second game when they flip-flop everything. But then they gave up a couple runs, switched out some pitchers, and Gators couldn't throw strikes for a while. Wound up getting run ruled in that game in 6 innings, 12-2. But the Gators are okay. We didn't burn any arms for game 3. We've got our game 3 starter ready to go. He should have a full complement of pitches. I mean, he may have thrown 15 to 20 pitches in game 1, but he'll have 100 pitches to play with in game 3. That game's scheduled for Monday. All the action right here on 912sports.net. Just click the broadcast button with the Gator head on it, and you'll be able to listen to that. But the Gators, Kevin, just 1 win away from playing for a state title in Truist Park, which will be something for everybody. Not only the kids getting an opportunity to play, but hey, if we get to go, Sean gets to go to Truist Park and call a game sitting in the press box like he's a bigwig. So I'm kind of excited. I'm hoping for these kids that they get a chance to play for a title. But it would be pretty nice to go up there and be a part of Ware County history. But I think these guys have got the makeup. They're really a cohesive unit. They play as a team. They pick one another up. So I like our odds going into Monday to get a victory and to keep playing.
It's been an incredible ride by Ware, whether they win or lose, and
exactly.
You come this far, somebody's going to lose tough, and hopefully it's not the Ware County Gators. But yeah, I mean, I know, Sean. I mean, just to play for a state championship is one thing, and to win it's certainly another. But to get to do it in Truist Park, where the Braves play, that's obviously the equivalent of getting to play, in the Georgia Dome or the Mercedes-Benz, like the football teams get to do.
Exactly.
And what a moment that would be for the Ware County Gators if they could do that. That would certainly be an experience that those kids would certainly remember. You get to play in a major league stadium, but I mean, I guess everybody on that Ware County team probably likes the Braves, I'm sure. So
yeah.
They get that like Freddie Freeman, Ronald Acuna, whoever they like. That would be awesome to stand in either one of those dugouts and look out on that field and maybe see themselves on that video board as well.
Yeah, that'll be a pretty cool experience. But, yeah, like I said, Ware County did graduate this past Saturday. I do want to give a shout-out to the Board of Education for Ware County. What they did, Kevin, is on graduation practice on Friday morning before the guys left to go up to Starks Mill, they allowed those 3 guys to wear their cap and gowns, played the pomp and circumstance, were able to walk across the stage, get their diploma just like they were graduating. And the senior class kind of hung out and watched that and cheered them on. I thought that was a pretty neat deal for those guys to get to experience that. Even though it wasn't with their classmates at graduation on Saturday morning, they still did get to graduate in traditional fashion.
Yeah, I don't know how those kids and those families felt about it, but they're baseball players, and certainly they'll have a unique graduation that maybe nobody else ever in Ware County history will be able to say they have or that anybody has had. So that's certainly a story that they can sit on the back porch one day and tell their kids and their grandkids. And, when I first heard about that y'all were graduating Saturday, I did not know that until Ware made the semifinals. And I was like, that's a bummer. But, we run into these kind of things this deep into the school year around baseball and the playoffs, and certainly in the state finals and whatnot. But when I heard you guys were going to do that, I thought, well, hey, these guys are baseball players. They love the game, and that's going to kind of be cool, So maybe they did enjoy it. But Sean, I don't know if you want to say anything about that, but I did hear in your broadcast that the other series was able to get postponed until Monday. And correct me if I'm wrong, but it sounded like it was for the same reason. Now, if that's the case, there's the GHSA. I'm just going on the surface. Now, if there's other details that I don't know about, I'll back off and say, okay, I get it. But you can't have one series that wants to do this for graduation and the other series wants to do it for the same exact reason, and you say you can't do it. Now, I understand on the surface, again, why they didn't do it for Ware, because they have these state series, final series benchmarked for a certain start date. They have to be fair to all the teams involved. It basically, as far as I know, revolves around the pitching. These series are supposed to be Saturday, Monday, so you got to have the pitchers have the proper rest for when they're supposed to start. But if they're going to allow that other series to back up, I don't see why they didn't allow the Ware series to back up. And if that's the case, we're not here to play patty cake with the GHSA. I do think Dr. Hines has done more good than bad. But if they didn't allow this for Ware and allowed it for another team, that's just GHSA not doing what they should be doing again.
Right, and I'm not sure why that other series was postponed. I heard that was the case, but I'm not 100% sure that is the reason why they postponed it. But I was told that Ware County's petition to have it moved was flatly denied based on the stadiums being rented for certain dates and having to be. Now, what I don't understand is if Ware does advance to the state title, that game is not till Monday week. It is a week from tomorrow. So had you played this series Monday, Tuesday, you still would have had your 4 days rest. So I don't even know why. I don't even know why that came into play. I just know, or I was told that we were denied that petition, and then all of a sudden we read about it Saturday on the way up there that all of a sudden the Loganville St. Pius series, which is the other 5A series, has been postponed to Monday, Tuesday. So, which are a lot closer schools and a lot easier to get to one another, as opposed to Ware coming from South Georgia, driving 4 hours to Stars Mills and having to stay 2 nights so we can play an if game on Monday, which makes no sense to me. But
hey, look, the Gators are up there hanging out, having a good time at the Gwinnett game today. So exactly. I mean, it ain't all bad. I mean, no. They did have to go up there on the cheese box. They didn't get to necessarily rent a charter bus, and that's none of my business. But I mean, it is costing the Gators more money. This is the COVID-19 era. And, exactly. The GHSA is trying to save teams money, I think. I think they're trying to schedule umpires a little more carefully for a lot of these series than they have in the past. Let me just tell you this. I mean, I heard this, in a private conversation with an umpire. I know I won't mention any names, but I understand that some of the umpires in North Georgia are getting upset with the umpires in South Georgia, because there's a lot of South Georgia teams hosting series, and they're getting to do a lot more games, from what I understand, than the North Georgia guys, because they are keeping the umpires closer to home, and that's upsetting them. Well, guess what, Atlanta? Hey!
Welcome to our world.
Going our way down here. But I'm sure the better umpires are going to call the state series. That's just probably, that's fair there, regardless of where they're at. But, I would like to know, and it's none of my business, I guess, but I would like to know why that series did get canceled, because if it was the same, or postponed, because if it was the same exact reason, if I'm Ware County, I'm upset.
In the words of Lucille Ball, you got some explaining to do, or Ricky Ricardo. So
that's right.
So that doesn't make sense. But Kevin, there were 2 other series that were played this Saturday in our area from the 912. One was Charlton County, who played Metter. Charlton County wound up getting swept in that series, and then the other one was Applin. And help me out here, Kevin. Applin played Franklin County.
Franklin County, yeah.
Franklin County, right. Now Applin was on the road, but I think Charlton was able to host down in Folkestone against Metter, but it didn't really help them out, as Metter came in there and took 2 games away from them, and Applin drove all the way to Franklin County to lose 2 games. So they're great seasons. Both of those teams making it to the Final Four, but their seasons are over officially as of Saturday. So, but congratulations to Coach Jeremy Smith, and congratulations to Coach Thad Marchman there at Charlton for great runs for this 2021 season.
Yeah, Metter must have a really good club to go down into the swamp down there in Folkestone and come away with a sweep. You know, Charlton's a perennial power down there in Single A, so for Metter to go in there and take 2 from them and not have to go to a third game on the road, Metter must be a pretty good club. And then, you know, Appleton lost 2 really tough one-run games, Sean, I believe. In the first game went into extra innings. I think Franklin won that on a walk-off. Everything's a walk-off these days. It wasn't a walk-off homer. I think it was a walk-off single in the bottom of the 8th. But both of those games were one-run games, 2 well-pitched games by the pitchers on both sides. So the Appleton kids took some tough losses in those games. So Appleton County, I think, a little bit of an underdog, you know, going up there on the road, you know, a long way from home. But certainly they held their own. Very well could have won both of those games. Very well could have extended that series to a third game. So Appleton certainly has nothing to be ashamed of. I know they're hurting today, thinking maybe a hit here, a hit there, and maybe they win those games, or at least they're playing again tomorrow. But you know, Sean, again, you know, maybe we should reiterate the fact in case a lot of people don't know it. We talked about it last week. 11 of our teams in our coverage area, we have 29 or 30 schools that we cover, made the state semifinals. 10 of those in the GHSA. Robert Toombs out of Geisa made the state quarterfinals, so the Elite 8 in all of our classifications that we cover. So that's pretty good stuff for Southeast Georgia baseball. And now we're down, of course, to a precious few still with a chance to win some state championships.
Right. And of course, we've got Jeff Davis, who still has a series that's going to start on Monday. We're actually going to talk to Coach Paul Glass. He's got a lot to tell us, Kevin, because a lot's going on in that series. I won't let the cat out of the bag.
That's interesting.
A teaser for everybody to hang around, but that's definitely a story that everybody needs to hear that is interested in baseball here in the state of Georgia. But we're going to have Coach Paul Glass later, you know, on the show a little bit later on. But hey, let's take a quick break, Kevin, and we'll come right back here for some more Thursday nights with 912 Sports on a Monday. Appreciate everybody watching.